You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel.
All right, folks, welcome back to Crimson Cast. Scott here with you. Continuing on with our basketball preview, we got a good one today. They're all good ones. I love them all the same. They're all like my children, but I really, really enjoyed the discussion today with Rapheal Davis. He was awesome. He brought it, just tons of energy, great answers, really honest in some areas. But before we get to that, wanted to send a shout out to Home Field Apparel, the sponsor of the Home Network. All the great podcasts on the Home Network are back up and running. Assembly Call, Doing the Work. We have the Crimson Cast women's basketball show. So so much content over the next couple weeks and months as we get into the start and then the heart of basketball season. And you can support your team with great stuff from Home Field Apparel. I love going to their website to see what is new. We do this every week, and there's always something new. They just have a new Boston collection they're coming out with. Great stuff. The Terriers, just a great red sweatshirt. It's hoodie season. The weather is for hoodies. I love my hoodie sweatshirts, and I might have to get one of these. It's awesome. It's got the Boston logo. Just great stuff. You can see all kinds of stuff. They have hats. They have bomber jackets. Just everything you can want from Home Field Apparel. And if you have not ordered there before, well, welcome to the party, and you are in for a treat. Use the promo code HOME23. It not only lets Home Field know that you heard about them on the Home Network podcast, but you also get 15% off. So, what we call that a win-win in the advertising business. So check them out, Home Field Apparel. Great stuff. Wear one for the team. And in a couple weeks, when we're all in Assembly Hall, I think we're going to see a lot of home field gear and probably a lot of those bomber jackets busting around. And you should, because they're awesome. And now a great podcast with Rapheal Davis. Like I said, we talk about the Big Ten, his time at Purdue, how Woodson has helped kind of bring that rivalry back, engaging with the past, why that's important, recruiting, NIL, how NIL is changing. We answer some listener questions for Rapheal, and he was awesome. He was a treat. He brought it. I am looking forward to having him back second part of this season. And now, without further ado, here's Rapheal. All right, excited to have Rapheal Davis from Big Ten Network, even though he's a Purdue guy, coming on an Indiana podcast. I appreciate it. Rapheal, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you? I can't complain. Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, dude, I'm happy to have you on. I'm excited to talk a little bit. Dude, it's almost basketball season. Like, we are so close. Like, exhibition games are started. Like, this is the time.
Right. Yeah. It's finally here. I like to call this this is the best time of the year. You get some football, you get some basketball, you get baseball, you get everything you want right now.
Yeah, I do like that February, March stretch where, like, you finish with the Super Bowl, you go right into, like, college basketball tournaments and the tournament and everything. Yeah.
No doubt.
All right. So as you look at the Big Ten this year, I'm just curious, like, we're digging into all this. Is it as simple as just like Purdue and Michigan State at the top and everyone else is just a notch below?
I think you got to say Purdue at the top. I mean, you win the league by 5 games, you know what I mean? And then You bring everyone back. You get a little more athletic with Cam Heide, Miles Colvin, see who kind of shakes out at that spot. And then Michigan State, I mean, make that Sweet 16 run, and then you bring everybody back and you add. I mean, the freshmen they added are going to be really, really special. So they've got better. And then I think I don't think it's as big of a gap as everyone is kind of making it out to be, because I think Maryland's right there. I mean, they brought a lot back. I mean, Jameer Young is right there. Boo Boo is the best point guard in the league. And then they bring in a couple of freshmen that are going to be really impactful. And then I really like Illinois as well. So Illinois, I think those would be my 4. I think Ohio State would slide in there at 5 for me. But I don't think it's as a big of a gap as everyone makes it seem. Just because the athleticism that Maryland and Illinois has, I mean, it's gonna come to play in a second.
No, I agree with you on Maryland. I think they could be right there. But I mean, what Michigan State's got's pretty nasty. And then Purdue, like you said, I mean, they're bringing everybody back from a team that won the Big Ten and looked really strong regular season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you win the Big Ten by 3 games. I mean, it's something there, and especially in the Big Ten. They're built to win the Big Ten. I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue won the Big Ten, ran away with it, but a team like Michigan State had a little more tournament success. Just because when you have three freshmen like Michigan State has, they're just going to grow throughout the season. They're not expected to really be they're not expected to be impact players necessarily by their numbers. They come in the game and give energy. Like, I mean, you look at the Tennessee game, and like Cohen Carr only played 16 minutes, but he gets 9 points, 4 rebounds. He gets 4 dunks, all of them momentum changing dunks. And he's plus 22 for the game. And then Xavier Booker, he only plays 8 minutes. He's plus 9 for the game. And Fears was plus 13 for the game. So, I mean, come mid-January, once these guys figure it out, Michigan State will really be rolling because they get back on. I think Michigan State will have that Tom Izzo, early 2000s, late 2000s, that same type of tempo where they're pushing it, they're running, they're athletic, they're jumping. So I think they'll be a team to watch. But I think the league this year is top heavy, which I think will help come March.
Yeah. So as we look at Indiana, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you see happening in Bloomington. You know, you mentioned Michigan State kind of having that feel. Like I think Indiana, my take on it is I think it could be very similar to some of those Michigan State teams that Izzo has had, in that I think Indiana might struggle early, but I think the team we see in March is going to be different and probably a lot better, and maybe won't reflect it in the Big Ten standings, but might be a team that could do more at the second half of the season than the first. So I'm curious your thoughts on IU.
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, you're going to be. IU's going to go as their freshman. I mean, McKenzie goes, and
yeah.
When you have a freshman that you're kind of dependent on, they're going to go through their freshman struggles early. Like yesterday, he didn't play too well. I mean, you look at that first half, Indiana really struggled to score the ball, and that's kind of what he does. You know what I mean? So it's been a few freshmen that come in the league and just take off right away. I mean, Jalen Hood-Schifino had his struggles last year. I mean, the one freshman I could think of that came into the Big Ten that really just kind of had his way early would be like a D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the number 2 pick in the draft. So, I mean, I think Indiana's going to grow with that. I think Trey Galloway is going to take time to kind of grow. Because I was a player like Trey Galloway, especially in college, where you just figure out how to get on the court. And Trey Galloway figured out how to get on the floor, and it was playing hard. It was through playing hard. It was through defense. It was through being the hustle guy. And now he's asked to score. And that's going to take a while for him to kind of get used to catching the ball and not looking to pass, looking to score first. And that's he's an older guy, but that is an adjustment. And I know he's had a great offseason. I talked to Xavier Johnson about him, but it will be an adjustment from going from the play hard guy to the energy guy to a guy that's got to give us 13, 14 points a game. And he looked a little shaky yesterday. Just he tried to be aggressive sometimes, but it just didn't go for him sometimes. And then Xavier Johnson's got to work himself back into shape, into game shape, no matter how much you run on an underwater treadmill or you run on a treadmill or you run on a football field. I mean, it's nothing like college basketball. You can't simulate it unless you play the games. You know what I mean? So even going against Gabe Cupps every day, and I like Gabe Cupps, that doesn't simulate what he's going to be facing. You know what I mean? So it's going to take him a while. But I think it's just a project right now. I think they just got a lot of new faces. I've been on teams with 6 new players, 7 new players, and it takes a while. I remember my Purdue team, my junior year, after we finished last place in the Big Ten, we bring in 5 freshmen and a transfer, John Noctius. And I think that non-conference, we go, I want to say off the top of my head, we maybe go 8-5. And I think everybody's kind of like, oh, it's going to be another bad season. I remember we lost to North Florida, Gardner-Webb, Vanderbilt, and Notre Dame all back-to-back going into Christmas. I mean, we lost to Gardner-Webb December 22nd. And like the fans were kind of, it's going to be another last place season, but then we go into that conference play and we finished 3rd in the league. You know what I mean? So it takes a while for freshmen to kind of get it and new faces kind of gel together. And I think the fans really, you have to accept players for who they are sometimes. And like Khalil Ware may not be a 20-10 guy. He is an elite rim protector. He rebound with the best of him. He run the floor, catch lobs, but he may not be the guy like TJD. You throw it to him and he'll get you 20. And sometimes as fans, we can expect so much out of guys. You know what I mean? So I think we understand where they're at and understand it's going to be a process. But I think Indiana is right there in the middle of the league. And I think if they can take care of home, if you look at their schedule, if they can take care of home, I think they'll be right there top 7, top 6 in the league.
Well, it's like perfect. Goes right into my next thing I was going to ask you is like, that's one of the things as an IU fan, when we're doing well, we look at a team like this that's young and it's like, all right, well, we can probably get, one or two games based on Assembly Hall. I'm curious, man. You played in the league. You played at IU when things were, you played at Assembly Hall when things were rolling, when things weren't. I'm just curious, is that something, as a fan, we look at it and like, all right, Assembly Hall, it gives us a real shot to, win some of these games. Is that a real factor, or for teams like Purdue, Michigan State that have some of that experience, is that something where it's just, it's not really there? I'm just curious, can Assembly Hall really give a young team a boost?
Yeah, I think it give it a boost. Definitely. It can definitely help the morale of a team, the spirit of a team, the energy of the team. At my times, I can remember one of my favorite moments in college basketball was I want to say we were playing the Bloomington. We were terrible that year, and I think it was my freshman year. And Vic rolled his ankle or something like that, and he goes back to the back, and next you know, Vic comes back out. We don't even see him, but you hear the crowd first, and it's like it erupts, and next you know, now they're up 30. You know what I mean? So the crowd can't do that for them, but I think for a team like this season, team like Michigan State, team like Purdue, older teams, the crowd don't bother much. The older, well-gelled team put together, those are the teams that can go on the road and handle business. But the teams kind of like on Ohio State, they're young. You know what I mean? They're still kind of figuring out who they are. I think Assembly Hall could rattle some of those young guys. Like they're young led. Ohio State, even though Bruce Thornton is a real player, he's a sophomore. You got those freshmen, Scotty Middleton. He's going to have to come in there for the first time and deal with that. Roddy Gale, he's going to have to deal with that as a leading scorer for the first time. So it's like one of those things where certain teams, it will bother, it will shake up. Like you think of a Rutgers and a Derek Simpson. He's never been the main guy on the team, so that may shake him up. But I don't see it. Certain things won't shake Tyson Walker or it won't shake Zach Edey, and I think it's kind of depending on who you play.
No, man, Zach Edey does not look shook at all in these games. We put out a call to some of our listeners, have some questions. We're going to pepper them in here, but now's a good time. A question from Jay. Again, man, Indiana podcast. Just know that, Raphael. His question is, who's the most overlooked returning player in the Big Ten? And tell me why it's Xavier Johnson.
That's hilarious. I would say the most overlooked player in the league. I just would say, it's one of those things where basketball is a "what have you done for me lately" sport, and you got to come and play. And it's a thing where he's been out for a while. Even in the games where I know he had a really good game at home last year. In non-conference, but you go, and I like Xavier Johnson. That's one of my favorite players in the league. Especially off the court, good guy, tough kid. I think he's going to be successful in life just because he got some grit to him. So it's like he's one of my guys that I have no bad words to say about him. But if we're talking real, that Kansas game last season before he goes down, I believe it was Kansas. That doesn't help him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Games, those big games that they had early on in the season, where Indiana got the doors ran off of them, it doesn't help them. You know what I mean? So I like Xavier Johnson. I think he can prove a lot. I think he's just got to get back in his shape. But if it was a guy that I would say people aren't talking about, it would have to be a guy like Doug at Michigan, little Doug Daniel, point guard. The way he finished the season last year was really, really special. Playing with two NBA lottery picks, two first rounders, and playing with Hunter Dickinson. I think the last 8-9 games of the season, he averaged 15 and 6. So I think he's a guy that no one's really thinking about this season. That would be that'd probably be the one I'm talking about.
Okay. As you look at IU, over 2 years, I always think it's funny that, Mike Woodson has a really good career in the NBA. Took the Hawks to the playoffs the first time in years, took the Knicks to the playoffs first time in years. A lot of head coaching experience. Then he gets to college and everybody's like, I don't know, man. Like, can he coach? It's like, yes, the guy can coach. Obviously, there are adjustments from the NBA to college. As you see, as someone who's played, who's, been coached, how do you see Woodson adapting his coaching style from the NBA to college over the last 2 years?
I think it's similar. You look at, I know everybody says, you think about IU last season, they threw the ball in a lot, but if you look at the numbers, and I'm not too big on like analytics, I'm just you got to hoop for me, but compared to the first year to the second year, they threw the ball inside less. They set way more ball screens. They don't You look at how they beat Purdue, it was ball screens. It was Jalen Hood-Schifino, top of the key, come set a ball screen. Zach Edey's going to play just drop coverage. He can't do nothing with it. Pull up jumper. And I mean, that's basketball in NBA. That's basketball in college. That's basketball in high school. Find the mismatch. I think sometimes we can kind of get what I want to say. We can get lost in kind of the sauce a little bit, where sometimes it's just find the matchup, find the best matchup. If there's one thing I would say that Coach is also struggling with is got to have the guys to run certain stuff. You can't just have a bunch of guys say, "Oh, I'm gonna put this offense in." The offense got to fit the guys. Like the play calls have to fit Trey Galloway's athleticism. It has to fit Xavier Johnson's ability. So you got to base it around that as well. You can't just come in and say, "I'm gonna have a brand new offense, do it how I want to do it, no matter my personnel." But I think Coach has adjusted well. I mean, he's obviously, the way he's recruiting is special when you think about it like that. The guys he's bringing in, the guys he's getting, and the kind of the even just the not even just on the floor, but I talk to guys a lot and I see different guys, and the way Coach has really kind of brought back a family feel to the players to Indiana. I think that's going to be I think that's sometimes I know you want to win games, but sometimes the culture can help. And I think like a Michigan State in that grind week that they have, like Purdue in the alumni games, I think Indiana's alumni base is so strong that Coach has done a great job of getting the players back to campus and mixing those generational gaps. So I think he's done a really good job, and it's only a matter of time before he gets his guys in there.
Yeah, no, you're right about the having the guys, because I think that's what, a lot of IU fans are interested to see this year is, when you have a player like Trey Davis, it's like you have to run the ball through him. I mean, you have a generational talent there. It's kind of what Purdue's dealing with right now. Is like you have Zach Edey, right? It's somebody you got to run the ball to, and it's like you don't know, is that the offense Woodson really wanted to run, or is he running the offense to best maximize his players? I think we'll see more of that answer kind of figured out this year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at Purdue, like you just said. Right now, it's Zach Edey. A couple years ago, it was Carson Edwards. It's completely different offense. You know what I mean? I mean, years before that, it was Robbie Hummel and Eastwan Moore. You know what I mean? So it just depends on who you have at the time. If I go back to my playing days, one year you have Yogi and James on the perimeter and your perimeter-based team. But one year you may have Noah Vonleh that can score the ball on the block. You know what I mean? So it just depends on your guys at that time. Every philosophy doesn't fit every team, especially when you come into a team and you inherit some guys. But I think for Indiana this season, it's going to be about scoring the ball. The defensively, I think they're going to have rim protection. I think they're going to be able to rebound well. I think Xavier Johnson is defensively, Xavier Johnson and Trey Galloway is going to be one of the better backcourts on the defensive end. But I think it's going to come down to just scoring the ball. They got to score the ball. I mean, they didn't – I think it was, 25, 27 points in the first half or something. I think they if you can't score the ball now in the Big Ten with the athleticism that the top teams will have this season, it's going to be hard for you, because I don't see Michigan State, Purdue – I mean, maybe I don't see Michigan State, Maryland. I mean, you look at how Illinois played. I don't see those teams scoring in the 60s and the 50s. I think you're really going to have to score to really kind of get there this year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If you don't mind, I want to ask you some questions kind of related to IU, but about your playing days. One thing that's interesting, you're from Fort Wayne. My wife's from Fort Wayne also. So shout out to the FTW.
There we go.
Why does, I don't need to get deep into your recruiting, but why does it seem that Purdue just really recruits better in Northern Indiana? I mean, you're from Fort Wayne, you play with AJ Hammond from Gary, Swanigan was from Fort Wayne. You mentioned Jaden Ivey, obviously from like a South Bend area. Like, and even like I think Juwan Johnson was up from like East Chicago. Like it does, as an Indiana fan, it feels like basically everything north of I-70 is kind of just Purdue's territory. Is that the case? Is there something going on there, or is it just is something going on up there? That's basically my question. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, because I went to middle school with James Blackman. I mean, we grew up together. So he's from Fort Wayne. I think Indiana, I mean, you think about it, all the guys you named weren't highly ranked in high school. I mean, Jaden Ivey's a top 5 pick, but I think he was top 90 in high school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he wasn't a McDonald's All-American. You look at the guys that they were getting when I played, it was the Noah Vonlehs. I mean, Yogi was a McDonald's All-American. James Blackman was there. I mean, they were getting. I mean, you got Troy Williams. That was Boo Williams' nephew. I mean, you got Stan Robinson. I think he came from out of state. So I mean, Indiana bring Victor Oladipo's from the East Coast. I mean, Christian Wofford's from Alabama. I think Indiana's recruiting is more of a national base thing. I think they stretch the borders a little further. I think they go after more highly ranked players or McDonald's All-Americans. You look at what Coach Woodson is doing right now, and I think Payne is okay with getting guys that fit what he want to do. So I would say that. And then for me, I mean, IU recruited me early. I went to, I mean, Kelvin Simpson and Ray McCullum. They were coming to games. And then that next year when Crean came in, I remember going to that elite camp. But I would say just that. And I would say also too, I would say maybe no one wants to talk about this now, but I mean, you're paying college players now. But you also think about AAU. And IU gets a lot of Indiana elite guys. I mean, it's Adidas. It's just a natural kind of transition. It may be just too straightforward to say. And then you think of Purdue, they get a lot of Indy Heat guys. And like all the guys you named were Indy Heat guys. You named myself, AJ, Bryson. I mean, we were all teammates. And then you bring in Jaden Ivey. He was a Indy Heat guy. Caleb First, veteran lawyer. But then you think about in Indiana, I mean, Yogi and those guys, Cody Zeller, it's a Jordan Halls. I mean, it's a big, I think that plays a part as well. So, I mean, that's just my honest opinion. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. I think Woodson is kind of Woody is going after, he's just getting dogs. He's just getting players. So I think it will change with him. But I think AAU played a part for a long time.
Yeah, well, and there's just a part as an IU fan where it's like anybody who's good who ends up being good, who's from the state of Indiana, like we're pissed. We're like, come on, it should have gone to IU. Like, so even it doesn't even matter on that. Yeah,
Indiana was. I mean, especially for a while, Indiana was getting all the guys. I remember my class. I mean, It was Yogi, Jeremy, Ron Patterson, Hunter. I went to high school with Hunter, and then it wasn't Big O. It was Peter, I think. So I mean. That was supposed to be one of the best classes in the country. All 5 of those guys were from Indiana.
Yep.
All of those guys play for Adidas AAU program. So I think, and you go back to even like Juwan Johnson and those dudes. I mean, Eric Gordon was in that class. Eric Gordon came to Indiana over Etwan Moore. You know what I mean? He goes to Purdue. So I think for a while, Purdue was kind of getting those. I mean, maybe not say it how you say it, but Indiana was kind of getting first pick for a while. And I think now it's kind of Payne's done a great job leveling that out.
So you mentioned the NIL thing. One of the questions we got from Michael is, he said probably a question you can't answer honestly, which I get, but would be curious to know how different you think your recruiting would have been if you were recruited in the NIL era. And I want to tack one thing onto that, just to kind of give you a more open question to answer is, as you mentioned, you went to Purdue in 2013, you went like in 2011, I'm telling you stuff you all know, but 2011, Purdue went 26-8. It's kind of the end of that Juwan Johnson, Etwan Moore era. 2012, Purdue went 22-13. That's the end of, Robbie Hummel's time. So you're getting recruited while Purdue is just, kicking ass in the Big Ten. And then your first year there, they go 16-18. You probably saw, that happening a little bit with some of those guys leaving. You probably weren't expecting that. And as you mentioned, your sophomore year, you went 15-17, you finished 2-12 down the stretch.
Right.
I'm curious, along with the NIL for recruiting, how do you think if there was the transfer portal today, would that have affected, how those teams would have been constructed or how you would have looked at it? I'm not saying like, would you have transferred because I know you're a Purdue guy, but just kind of like how that mindset might have changed during your time in college.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. But one to answer the first question, I think you said from Michael, I mean, I was recruited in the NIL space. I don't want anyone to ever hold on one second, my son is crying. But I don't want anyone to ever look past that. Like the NIL space, the NIL was always there. I mean, guys were always getting paid. Guys were
Your son's crying. He's like, Rapheal, you should have taken more money. Like, Dad, you should have gotten more. I'm just kidding.
No, guys have always been getting paid. I mean, I didn't go that route in high school. My parents didn't. So, I mean, that's always been a thing. I mean, so before NIL, it's been prevalent in college basketball. But for me, it was I committed to Purdue actually in 2010. So I was already committed through all of that. Like I was going to games before kind of what you're mentioning. You know what I mean? So the years you're mentioning, I was already committed. So I committed it would have been Etwan's sophomore year, kind of baby Boilers time when they really kind of got rolling. So I think for me, I kind of fell in love with the school. I had chances to and like I said, the transfer portal thing, transferring was real prevalent at that time too. Maybe you had to sit out a year, but each year I was at Purdue, we got transfers. So you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and at that time, the grad transfer rule was in at that time. So I don't think I wouldn't have transferred. I kind of stuck through it, and it's one of the things where transfer for what? I look at guys, and sometimes I say you're transferring, and sometimes guys think they transfer to a new situation and everything's going to fix itself. But sometimes as we get older, you realize that when you transfer, your problems are coming with you. You don't just leave the problems, especially if you have individual problems or you're blaming stuff on the coach or you're not taking care of your business and your family thinks it's the coach and it's really you. I would say your problems are going to transfer with you. Like guys that left Purdue, I think maybe only one of them had a successful career after that. And I think I wouldn't have left. We had a lot of guys that did leave. After the year we finished last place in the league, we lost a couple seniors, and then we lost. We only had 3 returning guys. Myself that played games. Myself, AJ, Kendall, and then Bryson Scott ended up transferring. Basil's mother. I mean, I look at the class. I came in 2012. The 2011 everybody in that class transferred. 2013, everybody in that class transferred. And those were the down days of Purdue. And I think once you get guys to buy in and want to stick around, that's kind of when you get good years. Because I say that, and after all those guys transfer, that next year we go third in the league, we go second in the league, then they win the league, and then next Elite Eight, and they win the league again. And I think the longevity of something matters.
No, I agree. And it kind of leads into something you'd mentioned earlier about, something Purdue and Michigan State, you guys have both done so good at, but that definitely Purdue from Katie right into Painter is, you guys embrace your former players. You have a culture there. Gene Katie's in the sideline. I'm curious as an Indiana. I mean, so I'm a little bit older than you, like an Indiana fan. I go back to the night days. It was always tough seeing the division. I mean, there's a lot of history. It's a whole podcast series on what happened with Knight and all that. But it's like It sucked as an Indiana fan that it's like we're good, but it's like we're not embracing the past, but we're kind of trying to, and this and that. I'm curious. Does that? Now that Woodson's doing it, it's like, man, this feels good. It's nice. It's nice to have all that back. I'm just curious when you were a high school player, does that actually matter? I mean, I know it matters. The answer is always some to some people, but I'm just curious, does that matter? Because it seems to matter with Purdue and Michigan State. It's like they've been just the class of the Big Ten for 20 years. They both have continuity. They both have, they bring the past in. Do you think that matters? Looking at it from an IU perspective, that now that we're doing that, is that actually going to be something that helps, or is it just something that's kind of nice for fans, but doesn't really matter for, incoming recruits?
No, it matters. I think the best recruiters in a program are the players, are the former players. I mean, every guy that I hosted on the visit in my college career, they committed to Purdue. Every single one of them. Maybe even my senior year.
That's a good record, man. That should be on the wall somewhere in Purdue.
I mean, every guy. Every guy I even stayed on campus late for. Dakota. I remember Dakota Mathias came to campus. I think it was Easter weekend or something. I stuck around just to kind of be around him, hang out, whatever. He ended up committing. I mean, Isaac was one of my guys. I mean, because he was with AJ. AJ was my guy. So I mean, think about even my senior year. I'm not playing with the team, but they sent Carson with me. And next, you know what I mean? So it's one of the things where I think the players are your best recruiters, especially when it comes to parents. Because I can still remember now I get to come back to campus and I'm seeing guys and unsolicited, I can go just talk to families and I don't know who's who. I can just pop in and say, somebody may ask me a question. I can talk about my experience. And I think a player's experience is the best experience you can have, especially those players that aren't your first round draft picks, aren't your McDonald, aren't you All-Americans? Like myself, I can use myself for example, and just because I know me the best. So I graduate from Purdue, I go play a little bit, but I get hurt. I have that story where, the basketball player gets hurt. What does he do? I ruptured a disc in my back. And I ended up getting a job with Eli Lilly, and I was in pharmaceutical sales for 4 years. So, and then when I get out of that, I'm able to call Coach Painter and kind of ask for a little bit of direction. Coach Painter is the one that put the bug in my ear about sports. Being a sports broadcaster and things like this. So I think when the parent asks me a question, I can share that. You know what I mean? And I think parents care more about those experiences. Parents care more about what is my kid getting outside of basketball. And I think with IU, with Coach Woodson, and with the alum and with the alumni base that Indiana has, I definitely think it matters. I think it matters when 20 years from now, I mean, one of those Michigan State players can call Coach Izzo and maybe he can help him get a job or something. You know what I mean? I think that I mean, you look at Tom Izzo and Jason Richardson. He coached Jason Richardson, and just a couple weeks ago, his son, Jace Richardson, just commits to go play for Tom Izzo. And he happens to be a McDonald's All-American now. You know what I mean? So I 100% think it matters. I think it may not show itself on the court, but I think when Draymond Green is FaceTiming AJ Hoggard, that gives him something, you know? That when Mateen Cleaves is calling Tyson Walker or calling Jeremy Fears and giving them a message that Tom Izzo doesn't have to, but he wants to, they're going to hear it different from that player. I think that stuff matters. You know what I mean? I think when I was in college, getting a text message from Lewis Jackson after we lose a game, or getting a talk with Juwan Johnson in the offseason in the Cardinal gym, just talking about the game and life in college. I think that I mean, Etwan Moore would come back and he would take us to eat, take us to B-dubs every summer and just pay for the meal unsolicited, just kind of hanging out with the guys. And I think that stuff matters. And I think that helps the program, that helps the players feel a part of something. And that also helps when it comes to transferring. You look at Michigan State, you look at Purdue, they're not losing too many transfers. You know what I mean? And when they do lose one, you think of Brandon Newman, or you think of Michigan State losing their guy. It's a guy where you normally understand, okay, we get it. We get why they're transferring. They're not losing guys, and you're like, oh, wow, they left. You know what I mean? So I think it helps with the program, and kind of, even if we don't succeed in basketball here, we may not be first, second round draft picks, may have to play overseas. But when we're done, Purdue's going to take care of us. And I think you need to have that type of track record and parents seeing that. But I think Coach Woodson is going to get any guy he recruits. You know what I mean? I think he got one of my favorite high school players just a couple weeks ago, Liam McNeely. I think he's the guy. I mean, I know McKenzie's the NBA player, maybe leaves after this year, but if it's a situation where McKenzie stays and you get Liam McNeely on the wing with him, and then you get Derek Queen and Khalil Ware, I mean, come on, man. You know what I mean? So I think it just takes a while, and it takes time for guys to stay. Like, I don't know, I know Paul Biancardi. I talked to Paul Biancardi. He didn't project Jalen Hood-Schifino to be a one and done lot. You know what I mean? That wasn't. You knew he had it in him, but he wasn't a guy that, oh yeah, he's definitely leaving after this year. And maybe coach would have projected him to be there 2 years, and then you get Jalen Hood-Schifino with McKenzie. You know what I mean? And you build that way. But I think sometimes it's about getting the right pieces and getting the pieces to stay. And I think Purdue and Michigan, Purdue has done a good job. We keep going back to Purdue because that's what I played for, but they've done a good job at being able to keep productive role players in the spots and keep them longer. And I think even like a Jay Knight, he's staying 2 years, that helps Purdue and it helps him. So I think it's one of those things where I think Indiana's right there. And it's not like Indiana's bottom of the league or nothing, but when you get into one and dones, it kind of hurts the process a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's everything you said is spot on. And that's like, it's tough because, I mean, when I grew up, that's what Indiana had, is you had, guys love playing for Knight because he coached them hard, but it's also like you'd have like Isaiah Thomas coming back, and it's like, Knight helped Alford start getting, his career in coaching. And it's like, Knight was there for them afterwards. And it felt like we kind of went away from that for a while. And everything you said is like, I feel like that's what we're getting back with Woodson. I also think this is where, it's take a tangent here, but something we talk about in the pod a lot. I think for these larger programs, like being the basketball coach at Indiana is almost like, the best analogy is like almost like a religious figure. Like you have to know how to coach, but you also know how to like manage I think same thing for Purdue, same thing for Michigan State. And it's like, I do think that for a guy like Woodson coming in, who kind of is comfortable with himself and isn't, I'm not saying anything about our previous coaches, but I do wonder, sometimes you come in, you're younger, you're not connected with Indiana, and it's like, I want to go against all that and prove it's like my program, where it's like, I don't think Woodson has it. He's not trying to, I mean, he obviously is trying to prove something, but it's like, dude, he's had a career. He's had a great career. It's like, I'm not trying to prove anything. It's like, I'm just going to use everything to my advantage.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think it's something simple with I mean, something I loved. I was in Assembly Hall, and like I said, my sophomore year, we finished last place in the Big Ten that year, but we beat Indiana and
You
Mackey,
did.
and it
You
was like our
did.
Super Bowl, and it meant
Yeah.
something to us. We were bottom of the league, but before that game, it means something to us because Paint expressed how much it meant. We got I think a voicemail from Big Dog or Joe Barry Carroll talking about the rivalry. Like, you know what I mean? You even if you're not from Indiana, Isaac Haas felt how big. You know what I mean? You feel something. You feel a part of that rivalry, like you're embedded in. I talked to Indiana guys. I mean, I talked to Xavier Johnson a while ago, and at Big Ten Media Day, and I asked him. I said that Indiana. I said you may not be from Indiana, but you understand the game now. I think some of the players before Coach Woodson didn't understand how big that game was because maybe their coach wasn't a part of that. You know what I mean? I think when you have a coach that's a part of that game, that's a part of that university, they understand little things like that maybe not so they can understand that week of that Purdue game. You need, like I was talking to Xavier Johnson, he said Coach had former guys call in. Coach had them talking to guys about how big that game was. And you could tell. You could see how after they won that game, it wasn't just the fans storming the court. The players wanted them to. And it was Coach Woodson, the celebration he had. And you could see that is a big game for the state. And I think in previous, like when we went on that run, that 8-year run, like Rob Johnson, I don't think he ever understood how big that game was. You know what I mean? I don't know if Troy understood how big that, or Thomas Bryant, because they're not from here. They maybe didn't get it the same. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I think these guys now with Coach Woodson, with guys like AJ Guyton being back around the program, they you understand now the history behind it. You understand that this is the game on the calendar. Records go out the window. This one matters, and I think now they have that. You could see it last year. They came out there with the game last year, like with their Super Bowl both times, as they should, because that's how it's pumped up. I can remember being in Mackey. We're practicing to play Indiana, and Coach has the speakers blaring in Mackey. We can't even hear each other because that we're simulating how loud Assembly Hall is going to be, and we're that's the only time we did that all year. I mean, Michigan State is loud, Illinois is loud, but it means something to go to Assembly Hall and try to win. And I think now both programs have that, and I think that rivalry is back, and it's good for basketball.
I completely agree. It's nice to finally win some of those again. It's been too long.
Yeah.
You mentioned some
but no,
of the
I
other.
will say, my bad. I won't cut you off, but I will say
no.
my freshman year. I think what started that that I think it was like 9 games straight. My freshman year, we were terrible, and that was the Victor Oladipo year. That was Cody Zeller, and we're in Mackey. And I mean, Will Sheehy flexes to the paint.
I know he does that. I know. Then, when that happened, that's cut you off. But when that happened as a fan, I'm like, dude, like I knew Oladipo and Zeller were more than likely gone. It's like, oh man, they're gonna kill us. They're gonna play that for a year, and they're gonna go at Sheehy next year. I knew it.
That was on a loop, and then also Indiana pressed us to the end almost. I mean, they were up 30, 20, 30. I mean, they pressed us. They pressed the backups. They pressed the walk-ons. They put it on us, and I mean they put their foot in our neck a little bit, and I think that left a sour taste in Coach's mouth, and I think from then on, I think I'm just glad it's back to now. Both teams are going to win some, and I'm even this year I'm excited for that game because it's an extra level of intensity to it, and no matter, like I said, records go out the window. It's kind of a dogfight every time, and it's a game where on both sides you could leave a legacy. You could be John Noctius and have a dunk on the masses. John Noctius was at Purdue 1 year, but fans will remember him forever for that dunk. You know what I mean? Or Sterling Carter, that game he had at Mackey when we were last place in the league. Like, fans remember that IU game. You can have a terrible year, but if you get 1 or 2 good plays about that IU game, you a hero. So I think it means something.
Yeah, well, and then I gotta fight for last year with Jalen Hood-Schifino just had a freaking great game at Purdue. It's like my God, he just went nuts. You mentioned all the other places in the Big Ten to play. I'm curious, we can ask what's the toughest place to play and all that. I'm curious, who has some of the funniest fans out there? Because I'm sure you hear a bunch of stuff, people talking all kinds of smack in all the arenas, but is there a fan base that year in, year out, you're just like hearing stuff and you're like, damn, like that's pretty funny?
I think Indiana's is funny. I think because you I used to like to go into the crowd before the game. If you get there early enough, you can go into the student section. You can see what the students say about you on a sheet.
Yeah.
It's like the other day, I looked at Michigan State. And Michigan State, they did it for their exhibition against Hillsdale. So it's like, I think Indiana found one of my tweets from high school, and it was like, I should just go out. I should just put some soap in my car while it's raining and just let the rain wash my car or something. Like it was. I just thought that was creative. And I would say just because of the ride, and two, my siblings went to Indiana. My older sister, she graduated from Indiana. My older brother graduated from Indiana. My brother had a barbershop on campus in Bloomington, and Yogi and James and Stan and all those Troy, they all get their haircut there, and then we would come down and get our haircut there. So going to Indiana would always be fun. So I would say Indiana because we may actually get our haircut. We may just go to I think it's called Buffalo Louie's. We may just go get wings, and you get heckled getting some wings. You know what I mean? I remember I'm in Indiana. I got heckled about Denzel Valentine one time. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things. I like going down there.
That's good. I'm happy it's good natured. You know, that's the part where it's like, you know, in the end, it's like your college kids. It's like I think it's always, I prefer the fun, good natured ribbing than when it gets too like hardcore and serious. That's good to hear. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, like I always had good. Like I mean, like I said, we grow up with a lot of those guys, especially like James. I'm in middle school. I remember James in 6th grade. I'm in 8th grade. We don't lose a game. And like Yogi, we met in 6th grade. And like you grow up with these guys. So when we do come to Bloomington or you do come down there, those guys are just a phone call away if something gets hectic. And like I said, my siblings were on campus before me, so I knew people. And it's like a thing where it's a good rivalry on the floor. And when it's like a year like last year, I think when it's competitive, I think that helps. And I think everyone understands when it's good on the court. And when the guys get along, it's always better.
So I'm going to get you out of here on this, Raphael. You've been awesome. This has been a great. I could do this for another hour, honestly. But I hear your son's back there. He wants his dad back. I'm going to get you. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to ask this. I'm not sure but anyway, this is from one of our listeners, from Rob. This is a deep cut, but I'm curious. So during your senior year at home against Maryland, Raphael was called for a double tech foul with Diamond Stone. Maybe you can't say what happened, but he's really curious what was going on there.
I can definitely tell you what happened because I did it on purpose for no reason, unprovoked.
Okay.
Because I was that guy. I was like we were playing Maryland. I think Maryland at the time, I want to say, I guess off the top of my head, they're top 10 in the country maybe. And then Dickie V is there. Like I remember Dickie V, he shouted out my brother's barbershop because it was that barbershop I'm talking about. And he shouted out his barbershop. I remember watching it back here and that was cool. And it was one of those games where it's hyped up, it's a full crowd. And we are busting Maryland. We busting their head all game long, and then it's coming down the second half, and they're going to run like every good team does. Melo Trimble, he starts killing. Rasheed Suleiman, I think he was out there.
Yep.
But they go on a run, and if I've been in these games, it feels like if we don't get the energy back, I can see we had young guys too. I could see our guys head dropping. You know what I mean? I could see kind of, oh, this is a run. Our guys are getting hit in the mouth. It's all about basketball is all about how can you respond from a run. For me, it was kind of, and they were going on a run and they made a big play. You know, one of those plays when you're on the road, the gym gets quiet, their team storms the floor. And I'm looking at Vince, and I can still remember Vince, I can see him. And he just dropped his head. And for me, it was kind of, we got to get going. We need some energy in the crowd. We just need something. So their bench rushes the floor after a timeout. And I just take it as an opportunity just to push Diamond Stone in his chest for no reason. Like he was just in the way, and I just pushed him and kind of got to the bench, and I just started talking mad trash, or like, you know what I mean. And next, you know, that got us going, and I think we got that win. So sometimes as a leader, as a captain, and it was a terrible time to get a tech in because I didn't know they were going to call a double tech.
What does Coach Painter say when you come back to the bench after that? Does he know what you're trying to do, or is he just ripping your ass?
Oh, no. I mean, well, no, Coach. I mean, by that time, like I was a 3-year captain. It wasn't really no. It wasn't no kind of. We just kind of kept playing and it was a double tech, so it kind of didn't really matter. And it got the crowd into it, and we come out, we score, and then we win that game. So I mean, if I would have got a tech and we would have lost. Maybe I get ripped, but when Payne would always say, like even when it came to scouts, like the year I was defensive player of the year, he would let me change stuff in the scout. If I wanted to guard something a certain way, if I thought it would work. But he would always say, if this doesn't work, he was saying in some choice language. But if this doesn't work, we're gonna do this my way. And that's kind of how Paint was. If it worked out for us, he'll roll with you. But you gotta win. But no, I remember that. I'm glad you asked that. That's a play where, like, I can understand Xavier Johnson. I can understand you need that guy on a team that's going to ruffle you up sometimes. It's going to get other guys going. I remember last year when TJD, he got in Mason Gillis's face. And Mason Gillis is Purdue's tough guy. He's the tough guy. And TJD was looked at as the stat guy, really. I mean, he wasn't the tough guy coming into the year. Guys would try to punk him a little bit. He got chest to chest, nose to nose, Mason Gillis. And I love Mason, but it looked as if he punked Mason out. And that gives your team a certain edge. And if you have that certain edge against certain people, you win those games. And you can punk a lot of guys out in college basketball. And I think like a guy like Trey Galloway, he's going to punk a lot of guys out. Xavier Johnson's going to punk a lot of guys out. It's just going to be on the offensive end. Can they flip it? And can McKenzie, can Khalil, can they really put the ball in the basket and then let those two guys be kind of complementary players?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Xavier that I love watching him play. I mean, I saw it I think our first game, the first big game he played in was, I think, St. John's like 3 years ago. And I'm down there watching the game, and it's like I see the intensity Xavier plays with, and it's like, oh, man, like I love players like that where it's like you got to give them a little brake pedal and not gas. Like I think it's always better just to have to put bumpers up to try and keep someone in the lane, mentally. And it's like I love that. And for me, it's like I look at this team. It's a young team. The question marks about where are kind of like, can he get that dog and that motor in him? It's like, to me, there's no better leader for this team at this time than Xavier Johnson. Like, I'm so happy he got the clearance to come back, because like I think the way I look at it is like, I'm sure Woody's going to be tough on him, but I imagine if any of the guys are soft or not going in practice, I don't think X is going to let them get away with that.
You could see it yesterday. In the scrimmage. I mean, he wanted to, I don't know who it was, but he wanted to cuss a guy out on the floor when they didn't run the play right. And you could see it. And that's what you need from your leader. You need that from your 6-year guy, especially when you have young guys. You need someone to show the young guys what real toughness is, because there's a difference between being a punk and being tough. You could be a punk on the floor, or you could be tough on the floor. I think Xavier Johnson is he's tough. I think he has real deal toughness off the floor, on the floor. I think he's been through things. I think he's had experiences. And I think he has a level of toughness where he's going to show Gabe Cupps college basketball toughness every day in practice. You know what I mean? I think that and he's going to, if a guy tries to rough up McKenzie in a game, he's going to be the guy to go push a guy, shove a guy. You know what I mean? And that just, your teammates feel safe around you. They feel comfortable. You're the guy that they lean on, and he should be that guy. And hey, I like Xavier. I like what he brings to the floor, and I like how he protects his players. And I think his level of toughness rubbed off on the TJD last season. I think guys like that help your program, and they help your young guys grow throughout the season. As long as he can keep his head on straight and doesn't try to get it all back too fast, and especially as seniors, as 5th-year guys, 6th-year guys, once middle of the season comes, you start to think about what's next. Yeah. And that's when you kind of see older guys start to dip, when they start to think about, what am I doing next? I'm not getting drafted. Am I going overseas? Am I going to the G League? Am I even going to play ball? Because that's the part no one talks about for older guys. You'll see kind of where Indiana goes kind of mid-season, kind of if he's trying to do too much, trying to prove it, or if he's really just playing the game to naturally just through himself. Because the way he finished, and I know, my bad, I'm being long-winded, but
this is fantastic. Go.
The way he finished two seasons ago, Indiana doesn't make the tournament without him. I think he was averaging like 18-7 to finish, 18-6 to finish the year, something like that. He started pushing the tempo, gave a pace to the team. Like, if he plays last year, it's a different team. And they were second in the league. I mean, that says a lot. So, I mean, I think if he gets back to his form and really playing how he naturally plays, I throw back to 2 years, TJD was kind of the second option offensively. And they were running and they were gunning, they were athletic, and they were in the open floor, and they're throwing alley-oops. I think that's the team this has got to be. And I think they can be that because they have a real solid point guard in Xavier Johnson.
You mentioned something I just want to touch on, one last thing. It's interesting. You mentioned that, like, that senior, and, a lot of guys, most guys who play don't end up playing in the NBA, like
Right.
Jalen Hood-Schifino. But most everyone who's playing in the Big Ten, you're going to have the ability to play somewhere else, whether it's like you said, G League, Europe, things like that. That's really. Do you see that? I mean, as a guy who went through that exact same situation your senior year, can you see that in guys like, oh man, like he's starting to dip because he's trying to figure out his future? Like, is it, as someone who's been there, is it pretty obvious to see?
I can see it. I mean, yeah. I can see it. I remember because I can remember when Coach brought me in and talked about it to me. I remember Coach kind of showed me kind of some tape. I mean, he brought me in kind of. He said I could see it. He even told me kind of how former guys have went through it, and I saw that I felt something in myself where something felt, you know what I mean? And now I'm able to look at guys and kind of see, and I'm able to reach out to guys and kind of talk to them about it. So it's one of the things where just had the conversation with the Purdue player about the same thing just recently. So, I mean, it's one of the things where you see it in guys, you see guys role change. You can see guys, you can see that. You can see when guys go through role changes. It's one of the things where as a player, you notice certain things, especially when you've like a Trey Galloway, I can sympathize with Trey Galloway, or like an Ethan Moore, and I can sympathize with those guys that came into college as one thing, but then turned into a play hard guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now they're expected to score the ball. And how how the fans are going to be on Trey Galloway if he's not putting 15 points a game in every game in a non-conference. Like, so it's things where certain things fans or maybe people outside may not even give time to think about, but mentally, it's a lot for these college guys. Like, I mean, 18 to 22, 24 years old, it's a lot mentally. And if, like I remember I was going through a psychiatrist my sophomore year at Purdue when my oldest daughter's mom, she was pregnant. So it's the thing, it's a lot of, that's a lot these guys go through on a day-to-day. So when you've been through it, you can kind of get a feel and kind of see it in their eyes a little bit on the floor. So yeah, I noticed some things.
Yeah, no, and you saw, like, I mean, that was like Tamar Bates, who played for IU for 2 years. Like, you realize after his first year, like he had a child, and it's like, man, that's. I mean, I'm 45. I got 2 kids. Like, it's a lot as a midlife. Like, I can't imagine playing high level basketball and having a child as a freshman in college. It's like, yeah, of course you're going to struggle on the court. Like, that's the part where, I mean, yeah, it comes with age, and you get a little perspective, and it's like, yeah, man, like, let's not rip this. Like, this he's a kid. Like, he's still 18. Trying. He's dealing with a lot. And it's like, yeah, I want to win. I'm a fan. But it's like, when you start hearing stuff like that, you're like, damn, man, like, there's empathy that comes in.
I mean, like a guy like Tamar Bates, and I know he left the program, but I mean, a guy, he's, like I said, he's far from home. He was highly touted coming into school. Yep. So he had expectations in his hometown. He had expectations in Bloomington. He has a child. So, and this was my experience. When you have a child young and when you're in that position, you start to feel some sort of letdown in that space too. You know what I mean? You start to feel like, that I messed up a little bit. You love your child, but you know what I mean? And then also he has to deal with that. He has to deal with a new coach and Coach Woodson. He has to deal with, now for the first time maybe in his life, he's coming off the bench. Now he's asked to do different things. And I know this is what we signed up for. This is what we want. And now they're getting paid for it. And now it comes with it and whatnot. But it's a lot. And everybody's gonna have a bad day at work. And at the end of the day, this is work for these guys. And they're learning how to deal with school. They're learning how to deal with socially. And some of them, it takes longer. Not everybody's a well-oiled machine when they come into college. But
and sorry, man, you keep hitting things in my mind. Like, that's the thing. I've brought this up before. I go to Pacers games also, and I like watching the Pacers. And it's like, I get frustrated with players there too. And again, I'm not a yeller at like at players and all that. And there comes a point where it's like you're going over the line, but it's like, I do get, it's like, hey man, like in the end, it's like, that's professional basketball. Like, those are professionals. They are getting compensated at a good level. And I'm not saying that you can just say whatever you want, but it's like, yeah, man, if you want to boo an NBA player, it's like that does come with a gig, and they're paid commensurately for that.
Right.
This is I've always thought players should be paid in college. The only thing that makes me nervous about this is, for some of those idiot fans out there, who really want to go over the line, it's like, just to think like, okay, now that the players are getting NIL money, it's like, they're getting paid, so I can just say whatever I want. It's like, in the end, they're still not getting paid NBA money. It's like, and they still are 18 to 21-year-olds. I'm not saying you can't boo or have a little fun heckling, but it's like that part worries me, because I think with the pro sports, it's like, all right, man, like, you can say whatever you want because they're pro athletes. And it's like, that's, they're making a ton of money. I mean, for the most part, but like not everyone in college is, and they're dealing with a lot of stuff. And I do worry about college sports in that realm. If fans are just like, all right, man, well, like I can say whatever shit I want to NFL players and I can say whatever I want to college players. It's like, it's not to me, it's like not quite the same. And I worry we're going down that road.
No, it's not the same at all. And I can remember, I mean, for me, and I wasn't in the NIL space, but I didn't have a Twitter for like 4 years because of Twitter. You know what I mean? Because of what your mentions after a game, or you can.
That's probably a good rule just overall anyway.
Oh, yeah. And even as a recruit, I don't think fans realize if I'm and I've talked to recruits about this, and recruits have said it to me. I mean, high-level recruits, I mean, top players in the country, we're not going there. Their fans are too crazy. Like, I'm, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, players have that conversation. No one's trying to be loved one day and hated the next. I mean, that's one thing I will say. One thing Paint always said about Purdue is that the fans sometimes, and now it's changing. I even say for Purdue is changing. I mean, you got fans jumping out the window after exhibition games. So, I mean, when I played, it was a little, at least sensible. You know what I mean? At least you understood who a guy was. You know what I mean? They didn't overdo it. But I think nowadays it is getting crazy. I think the money does play a part, but the mental space of basketball for these young guys is changing. I mean, it's getting harder and harder for them. I mean, you can see it in some of them. If you're a role guy and you're expected to do certain things, if you're not, that fan base is on you. And I mean, you got 18 to 22-year-olds feeling how they should. And it'll be like if I came to somebody's child's job as an intern and they're getting paid in the summertime, good money with Eli Lilly, and I berate them. I mean, no one wants their child to feel like this. All these kids, they have parents, they have guardians, someone looking after them. I mean, no one wants their kid to feel like that. No, CJ Gunn's, I know CJ Gunn's father. Good man, good family. No, CJ Gunn's father doesn't want to get on Twitter and see someone talking about his child.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one wants that feeling. And I think as fans, you gotta have a sense of responsibility, a sense of respect, and a sense of attitude of being treated how you want to be treated, because we all have bad days. No one's trying to miss a free throw. Like, that's the worst thing I hate when people say, like, make your free throws. Like, no one's going to that line and 15 feet away and trying to miss a free throw. No matter if they've done it all their life, like made free throws all their life. Like, you miss some. I just saw Steph Curry miss a free throw the other day. Like, it happens. And I think we got to be realistic and keep realisticness in basketball. And I think
the free throw thing is so true, because I also love when it's like, man, they just got to practice more free throws. I'm like, do you really think Woodson doesn't know that?
Yeah,
like, do you think yes, coaches can things can happen, but it's like, I don't think it's like they're not hitting free throws because they're not practicing it. Like, I don't think that's actually happening.
Like, we're shooting 50 free throws before we leave the gym, 100 free throws before we leave the gym. You got to make 10 in a row before you can go home. Like, coaches are making, you know what I mean? Like, I just wish people could be realistic and be sensible. I mean, that's a lot to ask in this day and age, but I understand what's going on and just kind of enjoy the process to some and let guys grow. Everyone's not going to be a finished product. Everyone's not going to be who you want them to be, but that doesn't mean they're not scum of the world, because sometimes a fan base can do too much and they can bleed into a player and then that player can transfer. I mean, players don't just players transfer for a lot of different reasons. And you will see some guys transfer because of their Twitter mentions, because Twitter is expecting them to be something that their coach is not allowing them to be. You know what I mean? And sometimes stuff like that play a part.
Dude, Raphael, I can do this all day. This is awesome. We got to have you on near the end of the season when we have a better feel for where things look, and would love to have you on like maybe right before the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament again. But this has been awesome. Love having you. And by the way, like, catch Rapheal Davis on the Big Ten Network as an analyst. Again, as an IU guy, I got a joke. It pains me to say, but you guys are killing it. Like, Robbie Hummel is literally my favorite analyst on TV right now. You're one of the best studio guys. Like, Purdue is just bringing the heat. You guys are bringing out so many good sports analysts. So well done on that.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And I would say when I listen to all the guys from Purdue, even the ones that are in coaching now, everyone kind of, and I think that it's easy to, I think everyone kind of sounds similar in just different tones. But I appreciate that. I know Robbie's helped me a bunch. And even like a guy like Bobby Rydell, who does the radio for Purdue basketball games. He was a walk-on at Purdue, played some. Guys look out for each other. And guys will, even Coach Weber, Like guys look out for each other. I think with Indiana, I think just a lot of guys go play ball, and I think with Purdue, we just got to go to work a little bit earlier. But it's been fun.
Well, no, you're great on there because you bring your personality, and I think that's too often I think sometimes guys get in the studio and it's like you see them trying to beat like exactly what you said, man, trying to beat something they're not like that on the court, and like you're right. Just you are true to yourself, and it shines through, and it's refreshing, and it's like, yeah, man, I wish more people, and I get it, because it's you get there and it's like you're being told one thing, and like you try and like rough, to sand down the edges, and you end up being nothing. So I appreciate you kind of being yourself in the studio and bringing that, because it's fun to watch.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Because like you just said, like we just talked about, I mean, I tried to kind of be like like you just said, like the studio guy, and then I got off and everybody told me I sucked. So it's just easier just to kind of, if I was going to suck, I was going to suck being myself. So I'm glad I don't suck.
Yeah, you go down. Well, Rapheal, appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone for listening. And until next time, this is Scott for Crimson Cast signing off.